Welcome to Searching the Scriptures. Our Bible teacher will be Gunther von Harringa Sr. In this series of studies, we will be focusing on the book of Judges. So without further ado, let's look into God's Word, the Bible.
Good evening and welcome to Searching the Scriptures. This is going to be Judges Part 8, and today's date is May 10th, 2017. I'll go ahead and read Judges 4 through 7. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah, between Ramah and Bethel, in Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him, Hath not Jehovah God of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali, and of the children of Zebulun? And I will draw unto thee to the river Kishon Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand. Previously, we learned how God utilizes the word draw, Strong's number 4900, in connection with Sisera in a number of passages that epitomized Satan's downfall on May 21, 2011. Today we want to continue examining verse 6 in Judges 4, where we find three names mentioned: Mount Tabor and the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun, from which Barak, a portrait of Christ, was commanded by God to recruit 10,000 men and head towards Mount Tabor in the strategic battle plan that Deborah, representing the Word of God under God's direction and guidance, was told to orchestrate. Now, the objective of this confrontation was to conquer Sisera, exemplifying Satan once and for all. Remember, too, that Sisera was the commander of Jabin, who was the king of Canaan, the commander of Jabin's army, and the Canaanites had subjected Israel for a period of 20 years. Let's consider this word Tabor, which is Strong's number 8396. It's derived from a root word which is 8406, and it's closely related. It's actually an Aramaic word and corresponds to the Hebrew term 7665, and it only appears in Daniel 2:42 as the word broken. In Daniel 2:42, there's a description of this image in Nebuchadnezzar's dream that God, by his mercy, enabled Daniel to understand and also to interpret the dream for the king in Daniel 2:31 to 45. Keep in mind that Nebuchadnezzar is also another great type or figure of Satan. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the heaven, hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, forasmuch as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, forasmuch as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. That's our word 7665. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Forasmuch as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. Part of the land that pertained to the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun by lot was situated in the vicinity of Mount Tabor. As we read in Joshua 19:10 through 16, with respect to the tribe of Zebulun. And the third lot came up for the children of Zebulun according to their families, and the border of their inheritance was unto Zared, and their border went up toward the sea, and Merilah, and reached to Dabasheth, and reached to the river that is before Jokneam, and turned from Sarid eastward toward the sun rising unto the border of Chisloth Tabor, and then goeth to Dabarath, and goeth up to Japhia, and from thence passeth on along on the east to Giddah-Hefer, and goeth out to Rimmon-Methoar, to Nea, and the border compasseth it on the north side to Hanathon, and the outgoings thereof are in the valley of Jiphtahel, and Kata, and Nahalal, and Shimron, and Idalah, and Bethlehem. This is the inheritance of the children of Zebulun, according to their families, these cities with their villages. Now, one thing I'd like to do is I tried looking up some of these words, and for example, sarid has to do, it's the same as 3800, it's 3801, and it's the same as 3800, and this particular word has to do with remaining or remnant. The next town is Marala, which is 4831, and it stems from 7477, and it's only used once as terribly shaken. The next town is Dabasheth, Strong's number 1708, and it's the same as 1707, and it's a hump, as a camel's hump, and it's also related to the word honey. The next town is Jokneam, and it's Strong's number 3362, and it's from Strong's number 6969, and it means lament, which is the first word, 5971, and people, which is 6004. And so it's lament of the people. Also, Sarid is mentioned again. The next town is Chisloth Tabar, or Tabor rather, and it's a compound word. It's made up of Tabar, as I said earlier, broken, but also it has to do with Strong's number 3689, which is the first part of the word, which has to do with the confidence or the hope of Tabor. The next one is Dabarath, which is Strong's number 1707, and it's very similar to Deborah, and it stems from the same word as Deborah. It's Strong 1697, Debar, and it's most of the time found as word. Japhia is Strong's number 3309, from 3313, and it means shining. Gittahether or Gath-hether is again another compound word. It's comprised of Gath 1660, which is winepress, and the other part of the word Jafar is 2658 or dig. The next one is Ita Kassin, which is Strong's number 5278, and it stems from 6256, which is time, as well as another word which is sure or steadfast. Remen Methoar is 7417, and it's the same as 7416, which is pomegranate. Nia is 5269 from 5128, and it has to do with shaking or moving. The next town is Hanathon, from 2116 from 2583, has to do with pitching, or like you're going to pitch a tent or camping. The next town is Jiththahel, which is 3317, and it again is a compound word. It's comprised of two words, God opening. God is Strong's number 4910, and opening is 6605. Kata is the next town, and it's Strong's number 7005, from 6996, and it means small. Nahalal is Strong's number 5096, and it's the same as 5097, which has to do with pasture. And it's also related to another word, 1595, which has to do with guiding or leading or feeding animals, the sheep, presumably. Shimron is 8110, and it's from 8105, and this has to do with dregs. Like at the bottom of the cup, you have the dregs of the wine, so to speak. And it is also from 8104, which has to do with keeping or observing. In other words, obedience. Idalah is Strong's 3030, and it means that which God has shown. And Bethlehem, as you might be aware of, is comprised of two words, Beth and bread. It's the house of bread. The house is Strong's number 1004, and 3899 is bread. I know this took a little while to go through, and I'm not sure of the spiritual ramifications for these cities in this particular manner. This is obviously the boundary of the tribe of Zebulun, but I thought that at least by understanding some of these places, that it might be useful later on if God should open our eyes further to see, the point of what he's trying to get across here, which again, I don't know at this point. There is one other aspect that I want to mention that might be helpful in trying to figure this out, and that is that after the Israelites crossed the Jordan River and entered into the Promised Land, which would be Canaan, the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun, along with 4 other tribes, were part of a group that were commanded to pronounce curses from atop Mount Ebal. The other 6 tribes were directed to pronounce blessings on the opposite mountain, which would be Mount Gerizim. And we read about this in Deuteronomy 27, 1 to 13. And Moses, with the elders of Israel, commanded the people, saying, Keep all the commandments which I command you this day. And it shall be on the day when ye shall pass over Jordan unto the land which Jehovah thy God giveth thee, that thou shalt set thee up great stones, and plaster them with plaster. And thou shalt write upon them all the words of this law, when thou art passed over, that thou mayest go in unto the land which Jehovah thy God giveth thee, a land that floweth with milk and honey, as Jehovah God of thy fathers hath promised thee. Therefore it shall be, when ye be gone over Jordan, that ye shall set up these stones, which I command you this day in Mount Ebal, and thou shalt plaster them with plaster. And there shalt thou build an altar unto Jehovah thy God, an altar of stones. Thou shalt not lift up any iron tool upon them. Thou shalt build the altar of Jehovah thy God of whole stones, and thou shalt offer burnt offerings thereon unto Jehovah thy God. And thou shalt offer peace offerings, and shalt eat there and rejoice before Jehovah thy God. And thou shalt write upon the stones of all the words of this law very plainly. And Moses and the priests, the Levites, spake unto all Israel, saying, Take heed and hearken, O Israel. This day thou art become the people of Jehovah thy God. Thou shalt therefore obey the voice of Jehovah thy God, and do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. And Moses charged the people the same day, saying, These shall stand upon Mount Gerizim to bless the people, when ye are come over Jordan, Simeon and Levi and Judah and Issachar and Joseph and Benjamin. And these shall stand upon Mount Ebal to curse: Reuben, Gad, and Asher, and Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. Now, we also read a similar description, actually having to do with the inheritance of all the tribes in Joshua 19. But we want to look at the children of Naphtali, since we're focusing on Zebulun and Naphtali, because they're mentioned here. And so this is in Joshua 19, 32 to 39. Again, I'm not sure of the spiritual import that these names signify. We know that there has to be parabolic truth hidden in all of these, but for now, we just want to be aware of what they are. So I'm just going to read the passage first, and then I'll go back and we'll, since this is even longer than the other one. So I appreciate you bearing with me as we go through this. The sixth lot came out to the children of Naphtali, even for the children of Naphtali according to their families. And their coast was from Heleph, from Elon, to Zaananim, and Adami, Nekeb, and Jabneel, and unto Lachum, and the outgoings thereof were at Jordan. And then the coast turneth westward to Aznoth Tabor, and goeth out from thence to Hukok, and reacheth to Zebulun on the south side, and reacheth to Asher on the west side, and to Judah upon Jordan toward the sunrising, and the fenced cities, and Hamath, Rakath, and Chinnereth, and Adamah, and Ramah, and Hazor, and Kadesh, and Edrei, and En-Hazor, and Iron, and Migdalel, and Horem, and Beth-Anath, and Beth-Shemesh, 19 cities with their villages. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Naphtali, according to their families, the cities and their villages. All right, so let's go back and look at this first one, which is Heleph, Strong's number 2501, and it's identical to Strong's number 2500, and it means an exchange. The next one is Elon, which is Strong's number 438, and it's identical to 437, and it means oak. Zaananim is the plural, it's 6815, it's the plural of 6818, and it means that shall not be taken down. The next town is Adami, Strong's number 129, and it stems from 127, having to do with the land or earth. And it's actually the same spelling as 119, Adam, or we would say Adam, and it means red. The next town is Nekeb, 5346, and it's the same as 5345. And it has to do with a hole or a hollow setting of some type, or a cavern. Jabneel is from two words. The first one is 1129, to build, and the other is again the word for God, El, which is Strong's number 410. So it would be having to do with that which God builds. Lakem is Strong's number 3946, and apparently, and I don't have a way of verifying this, but it has to do with fortification. Most of these we can check out as far as their root words. They're either identical or they stem from a particular root word. This didn't have one, or I at least couldn't find it. So there's some question there. Then we come to Jordan, which is Strong's number 3383. And it's related to 3381, having to do with coming down or going down in a descending fashion. The next town is Aznoth Tabor, and again, Tabor is the same Tabor we've been looking at, 8396, but the first part of it is Strong's number 238, and it has to do with giving ear. Hukok is 2712, and it stems from 2710, and it means lawgiver. Zebulun 2074 means exalted. Asher 836 stems from 833, means blessed. On the let's see, the next one is Judah. 3063 means praise, and Jordan, I think I might have mentioned, I might mention that already. It's mentioned twice here. Ziddim is the 6661. It's the plural of 6654, which has to do with sides. Zer 6863, again, apparently it means flint, but I have no way of verifying that. Hamath is 2575 from 2535, and it's the plural of the sun in the sky. Rekath is 7557 from 7556, and it has to do with spit. Chinnereth is 3672, and it's the plural of 3658, which is a harp, or harps, plural. Adamah, again, we saw this earlier. It's 127, and it's land or earth, and it's the same spelling as 119, which is Adam or red. Ramah is 7414. It's the same as 7413, meaning a high place. Hazor is 2674, and it stems from 2691, which is the same as 2690, and it has to do with blowing or sounding, like you would blow a trumpet or the shofar. Kadesh is 6943 from 6942, and it has to do with sanctifying or setting apart. Edrei is 154 from 153, and it means mighty. En Hazor is 5877, and it's comprised of two words, the word eye or fountain, and also the word sounded, 2690, or blow, which we just saw earlier. Iron is 3375 from 3372, and it means to fear. Migdalel, again, it's a compound word. The L part, the L is 410, the word for God, and the first part, 4026, is the word tower. So Tower of God. Horam is 2765 from 2763 means destroy. Bethanath, again, a compound word. Beth is the word for house, like we saw in Bethlehem, house of bread. But this is the house of the answers. House is 1004, and 6030 is of the answer. Beth Shemesh, again, a compound word. 1004 for house, and Shemesh is 8121, having to do with the sun. Okay, I think we'll have to stop here. And again, I apologize if this was a little laborious to go through. But Lord willing, in our next study, we'll continue to look at the battle plan that Deborah gave to Barak, and how they plan to rendezvous and to confront Sisera by the river Kishon.
Thank you for joining us today for Searching the Scriptures. Until next time, to God be the glory.